Greetings. In this video I'm going to walk you through Chapter 4. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so Chapter 4 is all about numbers. And basically what we're going to cover in this chapter is how you can perform math in PHP. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first thing that I want to do is create a new project. And I'm just going to call this project, let's go ahead and call it Chapter 4. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple of quick little bits of arithmetic. So, I'm going to go ahead and rename this index page. I'm going to call it Math Samples. Okay? Throw in a couple of comments, and I'm going to put in addition. Okay, we'll do subtraction, multiplication, and division. We'll have a few other things we'll do here, but this should help get us started. Okay, so to add two numbers in PHP, this is pretty much all you have to do. I'm going to go ahead and create a variable called add, and the value of this would be 4 plus 4, okay, which gives us a value of 8. Okay. So to add in PHP, you just do the plus sign. Your first number, plus sign, second number, and so on and so forth. To subtract, check some there. Okay. To subtract, let's say I want to do 5 minus 1. Okay. Again, subtract, you do the dash or the minus sign. To multiply, and let's say I want to do 9 times 3. Okay. Use the asterisk sign to, or the star, whichever one you want to use, or however you want to word it, to do multiplication. And then finally with division, let's say I want to do 25 divided by 5. To do division, you just do a forward slash, or the divide symbol. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and print out just the values of these operations. So I'm going to say print. I added 4 plus 4, and I'm just typing this out on a string. The value is, and then I'll just put in the variable of add. Okay, and subtract, I'm going to say print. I subtracted 1 from 5. The value is, and then subtract. I multiplied 9 times 3. The value is, and then I'll just do the multiply variable there. And then finally, I'm just going to say I divided 25 by 5. The value is, and then is divide. whatever that variable is. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and run my project. And let's see what we come up with. Let's add some line breaks here to make it look easier. Okay, so again, if I add 4 plus 4, my value is 8. If I subtract 1 from 5, my value should be 4. If I multiply 9 times 3, the value should be 27. And finally, if I divide 25 by 5, my value should be 5. Okay, and that's what I'm seeing here. Again, here are your basic operators in PHP. You have your plus symbol, your minus symbol, your star, your asterisk for multiplication, and then your forward slash for division. Now, let's go ahead and do another sample here. And let's go ahead and calculate a total with sales tax. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new PHP web page. I'm going to call this one sale including taxes. Sale including tax. Usually the first thing that you'll have is a quantity. You'll have a price. You'll have a tax rate. You'll have a subtotal. And then after you apply your taxes, you'll have a total. Okay? Now, let's pretend that we are selling shoes. If I have 3 shoes, so I'm going to say quantity is 3, and my price, I want to keep this kind of simple. Let's do something where with a price it's real easy to just calculate in your head including taxes. So let's say let's take my quantity, I'm going to set that to 5, okay? And I'm going to set my price per item to 10 for $10. Okay? Now, I already know that if I buy 5 things at $10 that the total is $50, okay? And so my subtotal would then be, well, it'd be my price times my quantity. That's how that works. Or quantity times price, doesn't matter. The operations don't matter at this point. Because 1 times 3 is 3, or 3 times 1 is 3, so it doesn't matter with your precedence. One thing you could do is you could go in the order of which you've created your variables, and that's when you would have something like quantity times price. Okay? Which actually, when you're developing a script, is probably a better way to go. Now my tax rate might be something like this. Let's say I have a tax rate of 7%. Then you could say the easiest way to do it is this, 1.07. Okay? That's 7% if you're doing multiplication. So, in order to get my subtotal, or I have my subtotal already, it's 50. I know that's true. Let's go ahead and do 10% to make it real easy. All I need to do to finally get my total is to take my subtotal times my tax rate. Okay? And create a new variable called total. Now, here's what I'm going to do here, because I've already done the calculations. And let me check this error message here. Right, I'm not using it yet, that's why. Okay, so now I have my total. I have my quantity of 5, I have my price of 10. My subtotal, because this is before you apply tax, is going to be quantity times price. Okay, so 10 times 5 would be 50. I'm going to apply a tax rate of 10% off just of the total, which would be in this case would be $5. Yeah, $5. So my total should be $55. Okay. Now I've calculated that here with my total is my subtotal times my tax rate. You'll see people do all kinds of operations in order to get a tax rate built in, but the easiest way to do it is just do 1 point and then whatever the tax rate is. Like 10% would be 0.10. Okay. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to print out the total. Print out this sales. I'll just say print out the sales info. So I'm going to print out a few different lines here. I'm going to print new paragraph, and I'm going to say, let's type in this. Let's go do sales receipt. Okay, I'm just printing out a sample receipt here. And then I'm going to go ahead and print on a first line. I'm going to type in sales receipt. I'm going to do an H4 size heading. Alright, kind of making this up as I go here. And then I'm going to type in paragraph. I'm going to say however many shoes. And I'm going to say whatever the price is. Price per shoe. There, now on the top here, I'm going to put quantity shoes at price per shoe. Okay. Later on, we'll actually clean this stuff up and make it look great. For right now, we're just gonna, just kind of do it quick and dirty. I'm gonna say that my subtotal or total before tax is whatever the subtotal is, and later on, I'll show you guys how to just put in a tax rate or percentage. Instead of your tax rate here at 1.10, I'll put in a percentage of 10% and then calculate it that way too when you're doing trying to tell somebody what their tax rate is. So I'm going to say after tax, after 10% tax, and then that would be my total. Okay. All right. Go ahead and run your script, and here's what you should see. So I have a sales receipt. I have, and that's misspelled, I'll fix that in here in a second. 5 shoes at $10 per shoe. Before tax, it's $50. After 10% tax, it's $55. Now you'll notice right now I'm missing the dollar sign here. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit. I also want to fix where it says receipt here because that's not correct. It wasn't correctly spelled. If I want to print a dollar sign in front of a value, all that I need to do is put in an extra dollar sign. Okay? Now this can look a little confusing at first until you get used to it, but if you have a currency that you're displaying, just type in that currency. In this case, in this class, it'll be American dollars. Type in that symbol right before your variable. Okay? And this is what it'll look like. I'm going to go ahead and save my file and rerun it, and you'll see where it says $10 per shoe. Okay. And for my subtotal and my total, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. So that's some real simple math there as far as just figuring out, a very simple calculation for sales. Now, let's see. Your book, and I'll come back to it and we'll actually flesh out a full calculated form that calculates your price and your quantity and all that junk and tax, and then prints out a value. We'll come back to that actually at the end here and kind of give you run down there. Now the next thing that I want you to do, or that I want to show you, is how to format your numbers. Now on my sale including tax example here, right now everything works great because I'm using numbers that I know are going to give me an actual whole dollar amount. Okay, so I don't have numbers trailing off into the horizon here. It's very concise and very simple. Now I'm going to change this real quick, and I'm going to change this price value to something like this, $11.39. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and rerun my file, and what you should see is that before tax you have $56.95, but after 10% tax we have it sitting out at $62.64.5. Well, I'm not going to charge somebody 0.5 cents. That doesn't work in American currency. So what we have to do is we have to round these numbers to the nearest two digits. Here's how you do that. So in my total here, all I have to do is type in this. When I say after 10% tax, I'm going to set this value of total to something like this, round, and then no, let's not do it there. Actually, that's no, not good. Okay. For my total, I'm going to say that my total is this. Well, there's all kinds of different ways to do it, but this is one of the easiest ones to do. Okay, if I want to round my total to the nearest two digits, then I just type in round. So this is a built-in function in PHP. It's round, and then an open paren, and then your variable, a comma, space, and then how many digits you want it rounded to. In this case, you want to round to 2 digits. I'm going to go ahead and save my file, and I'm going to go ahead and run it again here. Okay. And so this is what I have. I've got it rounded out to 2 digits. Okay, $62.65. Now what I did is I created just an extra step here in total, where I say total equals round, and then my total, and then 2. Now another thing that you could do that might give you a little bit of a shortcut is to actually, let's say when I'm calculating my total, I'm just going to round my subtotal by my tax rate, and that'll actually work as well. But what it's going to do is yeah, that should be pretty precise, and it is. So you can do it that way, but what you need to understand when you're using your round or your number formatting, when you have it all in one step, is that it's kind of a shortcut. So maybe when you first start coding, maybe do it the long way, and then later on in the course, when you're very familiar with built-in functions and how they work, to do it in one step. So I'm going to go ahead and back out my total here. And then recreate the previous step real quick. Okay, I'm going to go check my script, and indeed it is working. Okay. Alright, so anyways, that's using a round number, and you can also use what's called number format. And basically what it does is it's just like round, only it really formats the number in such a way that that you can say if your total is in the thousands or tens of thousands, it actually puts commas in as well. So you can do that as well. And let's go ahead and do a number format instead. I'm going to go ahead and comment out my first line of code using round, and I'm going to show it to you using number format. So I just changed round for number format. Okay. And that takes me out to 2 decimal points here as well. Yeah. And what you're getting here, if you're following along with coding these caution symbols, it's because we should really be using this as we get more advanced, using number format right up here in total all in one step. This is taking an extra step, and in PHP when you take all these extra steps, or any programming language, it just increases your potential for having buggy code. But right now we're learning, so we need to kind of slow down, take several steps if we need to. We can always kind of jam stuff together later. Now, right now when I put in my number format, but I only have 5 shoes and they're at $11.39 per shoe, I'm still underneath, say, $1,000 here. Okay. Now, where the number formatting comes in handy is when I have numbers that are high, that have a comma in them, so over $1,000. So let's say I change my quantity from 50 to 500. I'm buying more shoes. At $11.39 per shoe, my total will be somewhere around $7,000, okay, or $6,000. So you'll see with number format, I have a comma. If I just use round, it's not going to print out a comma. Okay, see the difference? I had a comma before, now I don't. That's why you should, in general, use number format. But either one will work, but number format is better because if you have a shopping cart or something and somebody orders 500 pairs of shoes, then it makes more sense to have that comma in there. But you need to know how to do both. Oops, I just commented on the wrong code. That would have been bad. Okay. So that's a really good way to print out some sales tax or sales information. Formatting some numbers. And the next thing I want to show you is understanding precedence. Now, if you're familiar with mathematics at all, precedence is in algebra basically is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction. Jesus, it's been so long since I've taken an algebra class. Anyways, teach this stuff all the time. You think I'd have that right off the tip of my tongue. So anyways, PEMDAS. Basically, in PHP, when we're doing stuff, anything that's inside of parentheses takes precedence, okay, in your orders of operations. So, I'm going to create a new file real quick, and I'm going to call it precedence. I would also urge you to read chapter 4, about page 84 to 85, and that really gives you a good rundown on precedence, okay? So, here's what they use here. My first value that I have is, I'm just going to create a variable called number, and I'm going to type in 10 minus 4 divided by 2. Now, if I use PEMDAS, here's what I should have. I should have division and then subtraction. So my answer should be, if I don't put any parentheses in, let's see what my answer is. If I'm using PEMDAS, I should do the division first and then the subtraction. Okay? And if there's no precedence all the way across, it'll start any preferences. You'll go from the left to right as well, just as a side note. But for the most part, you don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and take a look at my precedence. So it should be 8, because I have 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then 10 minus 2 is 8. Now, if I start putting in parentheses here, and I say 10 minus 4 divided by 2, inside of parentheses for 10 minus 4 divided by 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate 10 minus 4 first, because it's inside the parentheses, and then divide it by 2. So I should have 6 divided by 2. My answer should be 3. Let's go take a look. And it is. Finally, I'm going to say 10 divided by, or 10 minus 4 divided by 2. Okay, which in this case, if I'm just looking at precedence, it's not really necessary because I already do it up here is part of the, well, how precedence works. With your division would go first and then your subtraction. But we're going to make sure that the system does it this way by using parentheses. Okay, this will also give me 8 because 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then I'm going to take 2 minus, or 10 minus 2, so that'll give me 8. Okay. Now, let's say that I have a script that we're going to create here in a moment, and I have I'm going to print out, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it receipt 2 or something. Okay, just doing another sample receipt, and I'm going to put in a few different items here. Okay, I'm going to pop in my price. I'm going to say that something's $5. My quantity is $10. My shipping is, I don't know, $7.99. Okay, and then my tax rate is a percentage. Okay, in this case, because we're going to calculate out what that actual tax is. So if I have a form where somebody types in their tax percentage, say like 7%, then I'm going to do this. Say my tax is 7. Okay. Tax rate then becomes this. Maybe whatever my tax is. Okay. Divided by 100. And what that'll give me is like 0.07 for 7%, and then I'm going to add 1 to it to give me 1.07. That's how you calculate that when you have a tax rate in a form, okay, that somebody's typing in, which I'm going to show you how to do here in a minute. So I'm going to take my tax rate, I'm going to calculate it out that way, and then finally, I'm going to say, does somebody have a discount code or something that gives them a discount? Okay. And let's say that somebody types in a discount of $5. So if I want to calculate somebody's total, this is how I do it. I'm going to create a new variable called total, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to have two open parens because there's a bunch of crap that I need to calculate first, and then finally at the very end type in my discount. So two open parens, you'll have two closed parens that are automatically calculated or automatically completed here. So I need to do my price times my quantity, right? So I'm going to do 5 times 10. Okay, so my price times my quantity. And then finally, I have my shipping here. And it depends. Do you tax your shipping or do you just tax the goods? Well, that's that could come into play too. But anyways, I have my shipping, and then at the very end, outside of those parens, I take off for my discount. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and print out my total. And we'll factor in the taxes here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and run this receipt. And you'll see that I have a total of $52.99. Now, here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to run a calculator. So I have my price times my quantity, right? I have 10 times 5. Alright, so that's 50. Plus $7.99 for shipping. So that's $57.99, and then I have a $5 discount for, I have a $5 discount off the total. So that would bring me to $52.99. Okay, and that matches my output, I believe. Let me double check. Yes, it does. Matches my output at $52.99. Okay. Now, so let's say that I want to factor in my taxes here. I would add I would say that I have my price times my quantity. Okay. And then I would have my times my tax rate. Okay. So my price times my quantity times my tax rate will give me my total with tax. So my grand total should be $56.49. So let's make sure that, and that's not taxing my shipping. A lot of times shipping isn't taxed. It depends on the state. We're going to pretend like it isn't. Okay. So here's what I should have. I should have 5 times 10, which is 50, times 1.07. Okay, that's how I got my tax rate. So it should be $53.50 plus my shipping, which is $7.99, minus $5 for my discount. Should have a total of $56.49. I'm going to go look at my code output again, and I do. I have a $56.49. So this is how our precedence is going to work here. The first thing that I need to do is, well, there are a couple things. One, I need to factor in everything except for that discount because I take it off at the very end. Okay? Inside there are 3 things that I need to calculate real quick. First, to get a subtotal, is my price times my quantity times my tax rate. That gives me my total with tax. Okay? Then I add to that, outside of these parens, my shipping, which is $7.99, but it's not taxed. If it was taxed, then you would take your price times your quantity plus your shipping times your tax rate and then discount. We're not going to tax that in any examples used in this course. Okay? Finally, at the end, I say plus shipping, and then outside of both of these parens, okay, I give myself a discount of $5. Okay, that's how my precedence works. Okay, next thing I want to show you is how to auto increment and decrement a number. Let's go ahead and get started on that one. I'm going to create a new file and a new PHP web page, and I'm going to call it Inc and Deck. Right. So to auto increment a number, let's say that my first number is 5. Okay. To auto increment a number by 1, you just type in the variable and then a plus sign. That's it. Okay. So let's say I'm going to print my number, and then I'm going to print it again after adding 1 to it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and print a line break too, so I have it on their own separate lines. Okay. Let's go ahead and run my project. And you'll see that my first number is 5, my second number is 6. If I want to, so that's increment. To decrement, in other words, to take it down by 1, I just have my number, and my number value is set to 10, and I want to, if I want to take the number down by 1, I just say number minus minus. Just like the plus, only the signs are reversed. Minus minus. Okay? Positive and negative. So you'll see that my first number is 10. That's the value that I set. And then I auto decrement by 1. It should give me a value of 9. If I want to create a random number, this is real easy to do. It's just a built-in function called rand. I'm going to create a new file called rand, and I'm just going to type in a random number. Okay, just type in rand, and then I'm going to print. Oh, so I'm going to say number is rand, and then finally I'm going to print rand. Okay. Or print number, I mean. Okay. So this random number can be anything. Okay? It's just going to print out some random number, random whole number. If I want to give myself a limit on numbers, and I want to say I want to start off with number 5 and end with number 95, then all you have to do is this. So I'm going to say go inside the rand function, inside the parents, type in your beginning number, a comma, a space, and then your last number. And you'll see that no matter what, my numbers only end, or they begin with 5, they end with 95. Your text will show you an example of your lucky lotto numbers or something like that. So if you want to reference it, you can look at it towards the end of chapter 4. So that is pretty much it for looking at how to do some real basic math with numbers in PHP. Now, when we really start delving into PHP here in a couple weeks, we're going to do this stuff on a daily basis pretty much with calculations. We'll start developing a lot of forms and things like that. Now, what I would do is start looking at the beginning of chapter 4. Type out this form, but use HTML5 to do it. Which all you need to do is just click on a new PHP web page, and then what did they call this one? Initial form tag. don't see it. Create an HTML page. Well, they don't give you a number to, or a name to call it. But anyways, it's right on page 75, script 4.1. You'll create this basic form. If you want to create an HTML file, all you need to do is click on create new file. Click on Other, and then HTML, and next. Give it whatever the name is. In this case, we're gonna call it calc.html. Click Finish, and you'll have a blank HTML file here to work from. So let's see. So I have my division here, and inside I'm just going to create some a form, and I'm going to say fill out this form to calculate total cost. The action is handle calc.php. The method is post. And then I'm going to get the price, the quantity, the discount, and the tax, and then shipping method. I'm just typing it right off of the script here. I'm on page 75. So I have my price, I have my quantity, my discount, and my tax. My tax is 3. My price, I'm just changing the elements here. Quantity, discount, tax. Okay. Easy way to do this is copy and paste your code and change the pieces in the form that need to be changed. For example, quantity needs to be quantity, discount needs to be discount, tax needs to be tax. Remember that it is case sensitive with this certain part. And then finally, we need to pick our shipping method. And then that's just a drop-down menu. So it's a select. My name is shipping. And I have a few different options here. First value is 5. And this one is slow and steady. Okay, my second one, I think I had 3. Yeah. The second one, the value is $8.95. And its description is put a move on it. And then the third one, the description is I need it yesterday. And its value is 1936. And finally, we're going to calculate the number of payments because we'll calculate that in. and its input type is text, the name is payment, and the size is 3. So I'm just going to steal the one I made for tax here and paste it, and then just change tax to payments. Okay. And then finally I'm going to do a submit button. My name is submit, and my value is calculate. And then finally I'm going to close out my form. So now if I go look at my form, this is what it should look like. Just a really ugly form that I fill out, and click calculate, and then it should calculate my my total. Okay. All right. So the next one I need to make is a PHP web page, and this one's called handle calc. Okay. It's a quick and dirty little script that just calculates everything. So here's what we need to do. We need to calculate the total. This is also on page 77 to 78. Okay? I need to get all those values from that form that we just created. First one is price, and it was used in post method. Copy my code here, and I have a few other ones that I need to get. I'm going to blow out everything that, so I don't have to keep hitting delete and type again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little template, okay, that I just have to go and fill in the name of the variable. I'm going to paste it a few times because I have my price, my quantity, my tax, my shipping, and my payments. So I think there are 6. There's 6 of them to calculate. So I need one more. Okay. I have quantity. My discount. My tax. My shipping. And my payments. Okay. Now, I have all of my values that I needed. Now finally what I need to do is I need to calculate the total. And this is, again, I already showed you much earlier in the video, but this is how we calculate the total in this script. We're going to say our total, and again, later on we're going to do all this in one step, but here we're going to slow down a little bit, show you how to do it kind of a long way. It's kind of like doing multiplication longhand instead of doing it shorthand. So my total, if at first, is my price times my quantity, just like I showed you earlier. My total then, because we're going into our subtotal, is my total plus my shipping, whatever you selected for shipping. Then your total is your total minus your discount. Okay. And in this one we are actually going to tax total, which it doesn't matter because if we apply our discount before or our discount after, we're going to tax our discount on this one. We're going to determine our tax rate. Now this is where I had you earlier do your tax rate based on your tax rate divided by 100 plus 1 to get this. So my tax rate is my tax divided by 100, and then I'm going to add a 1 to it. So tax rate equals tax rate plus 1. It's longhand. It's the only time you probably ever do this. So we need to factor in our tax rate, and that would be your total times your tax rate. Okay. And then finally, if we wanted to calculate their monthly payments, then all we would need to do is do this. Our monthly equals our total divided by however many payments they've set. Alright, now we've calculated everything. Let's go ahead and start sending things to the screen. So we're going to print out our results here. So we're just going to print to the screen this. Because we're printing out a bunch of stuff, we'll just get started on the top line here. So P, you have selected to purchase. Put in a line break. Give myself a few lines. We bought. No, I'm not going to throw a class in here at the top. Quantity of widgets at price. Okay. Price each. Plus a shipping cost, whatever the dollar amount is. And a tax, and then whatever our percent is, tax rate. Okay. After, and then I'm going to say after your discount, total cost is, and then whatever their total is. And then finally I'm going to say divided by payments. Your monthly payment is, or monthly payment would be monthly. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and run this script. Okay, so I'm going to go save my file. I'm going to go fill out my form. I'm going to say 5 widgets. I want them at $5 a widget, $10 or 10 quantity, a $5 discount, a $7 or 7% tax rate. I want to put a move on it, and I want to make 12 payments. I'm going to click calculate, and 147. Oh, right, I'm missing a semicolon. Alright, let's try that again. Okay, so I've selected to purchase 10 widgets at $5 each plus an $8.95 cost and a 7% tax rate. After my $5 discount, my total cost is $57.72. Divided by 12 payments, your monthly payment would be blah monthly. And you'll see that we do need to do some number formatting in here. And that, let's see, my total would be this. If I want to round, I can round this later and format my numbers. If I do my total and my monthly at the very end, before I print it out, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say format my numbers, and my total at the very bottom would be total equals number, format, total, and I'm only going to go out 2 decimal places, and then my monthly, same thing. Do it at the very end. That way you're not screwing with any of the calculations, you're just formatting these numbers before you print them out to the screen. Okay. Save and file, and resubmit, and you'll see that my total cost is $57.73, and that my monthly payment is $481, roughly. So, all right, well, that wraps it up for Chapter 4. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll get right back to you. Thanks.